my name is Arlene Herson. The name of the show is Getting to Know You, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Tonight we're going to get to know a man who is called the biggest unknown superstar in show business today. And superstar he is. To see him on the stage is an experience. Not just an experience, a celebration. And that is what he calls his nightclub act, a celebration. He sings, he dances, he writes songs. His incredible talent and energy are captivating. He is the star of the Clint Holmes celebration. He is Clint Holmes, and let's get to know him. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome to the celebration. That's what we said right at the beginning of the show.
Well, you know, I really feel like I've been at a celebration because I've just seen your show, and you were really terrific.
Thank you.
But is it true that you turned down a Broadway show so that you could appear here at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City with your celebration?
This business is so strange, you know, things that, if someone had told me I would turn down a Broadway show for almost anything, I would have said they were crazy. But as things would happen, this show, the Broadway show, and actually a couple of other situations all came to fruition within days of each other. And I really had to make some tough decisions. There were several reasons I took this show as opposed to Broadway. One of them is that it is, for all intents and purposes, what I do. This. Broadway would have been a role. Broadway is risky. This was set. I have a family. I have children and a wife, and I have to, you know, when you're a father, you have to think in different ways than if it had just been my wife and I 5 years ago, or myself 20 years ago, you know, and hey, you know, but there were a lot of reasons, and I'm very honest with you. Not only am I glad that I took this, but my agent, who was trying to get me to take the Broadway show about 3 weeks ago, called me up and said, "Congratulations, you make the right decision," because they're not even sure that the Broadway show is going to happen at this point, you know. Right. So yeah.
Okay, and you were able to have a lot of artistic freedom here at the Sands Hotel. Now, did you put together this show yourself?
Well, no. The show was put together by my musical director, Bill Fain, by the director of the show, Rudy Garza, and by myself, basically. Those are the three creative forces that put it together. Then there's Dwight, who designed the sets, and there's the lighting, and so on and so forth. But the basic ideas and concepts were between Bill Fain, Rudy Garza, and myself, yeah.
You are the star of the show, and your input is really the most important. What were you trying to create when you were putting together the Clint Holmes celebration?
We were trying to create something exciting and different for me, a growing experience for me. For instance, the roof garden scene that we do. There's a little vignette, if you will. Is an attempt at doing something a little bit different in a nightclub. Not just a bunch of songs, but taking some contemporary, interesting songs, putting them into a situation with a little acting, a few, hopefully, comedic moments. You know, I've never done that before. That's new and exciting for me. To take my experiences in nightclubs and use them musically, physically, all the things that I do well that maybe another entertainer doesn't work for them, and so on and so forth. To compile all that and put it on stage, and they get what the Sands has given me is sets, costuming, the Copa girls, who are terrific dancers, a crew. In other words, the Sands have said, here's all the stuff you need, plus a director, plus other creative people, and let's go for it. And you're right. I mean, they gave me an awful lot of artistic freedom. They said, "Clint, what do you want to do? What's comfortable?" And then within those parameters, we worked all the things out. Yeah.
One of the things I'm sorry about is that we don't have a videotape of your show so that the audience can actually see Clint Holmes' celebration. I've just seen it, and actually one of the reasons I had mentioned to you earlier that I did see your show was I heard from people from other hotels that you were terrific, and they said, if you want to see something really sensational, you go over to the Sands Hotel and you see Clint Holmes. Well, I have. One of the things that surprises me is why more people don't know about Clint Holmes.
We're working on it. You know, we're working on it. That's tough. There's a lot, you know, the business, there's a lot of reasons. The reason is because I've not had a mass vehicle, a mass exposure vehicle, a record, hit television show, a movie, a Broadway show. Until I have one of those things, the best that I can hope is that I can have local areas where people know me and I can make my living doing that.
Okay, but you did have a hit record at one point.
Yes, I did.
1974, I think it was.
73, 74, right.
Okay, over 2 million copies.
Yeah. My name is Michael, I got a nickel. It was not a career vehicle.
What do you mean by that?
It was not an identification record. It was not the kind of record that people rush out and say, boy, I want to know who sings that. What does he look like? What does he sound like? What does he do? It was the kind of record that people bought it because it was cute, bought it because there were children on it, bought it because they had a son named Michael, did not necessarily buy it because Clint Holmes sang it. And the problem is that we never were able to follow it up for a lot of different reasons with a record that was an identifiable Clint Holmes record. That's the problem.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet. Oh, yes. Oh,
Not
believe me, we have not given up. I mean, we have yet just begun to fight. But,
Okay, and we've just begun to actually learn about you. We're going to take a break, and then I want to find out what's behind the Clint Holmes that we've seen on the stage.
Okay. Okay.
We're speaking with Clint Holmes, and we'll be right back after this break, so please stay right there. We're back. We're at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City with my very special guest, Clint Holmes. Actually, after having just seen you perform and learning about you as a performer, I've also learned some things about you personally. I learned that you actually come from a show business family.
I come from a musical family, yeah. My mom was an opera singer. My father was a street singer. My father sings, is a jazz lover and sang, but my father was never really a professional singer in that sense. But I really have a heritage of music in my family. My sister's a singer. And a lot of influences. You know, that's an interesting thing because that's as much of a problem as it is a blessing in some ways. Before the show, we were talking about the fact I was mentioning to you that I have a new manager, and one of the things that we talked about when we sat down for the first time to talk about management was, he said to me, and I think this is interesting. He said, a performer is like a deck of cards. Someone like you is like a deck of cards. He said, you have an option. If you're sitting playing poker with people and you had a royal flush, you would not tell the other guys, hey, you might as well not bet, I got a royal flush, you can't win anyway. You would, one card at a time, pull them in. He said, as a performer, the fact that you can do all the things that you can do, and what you were talking about is the fact that I do a little jazz in the show, I do a little smidgen of opera in the show, there are broad influences in my show, does not necessarily mean that you should do all those things. Because what I need, and I think one of the things that's missing, getting back again to a question you were asking before, is in my life and in my career, is what does Clint Holmes do? What is he about? What does he do? And I think that people, even though hopefully most people will walk out of my show saying, gee, it's a terrific show and we really enjoyed ourselves. If someone says, well, what does he do? Well, gee, he danced and he sang some quiet songs, and then he did a little jazz, and he did a little bit of opera, and he did, and it's like, what do you hang your hat on? Well, do I want to go see this guy? I don't know if I want to go see a guy who does this, and this, as opposed to, oh, he's a great ballad singer. Oh, I love great ballad singers. Let me go hear a great ballad singer. Or he's a jazz singer. Oh, I love jazz singers. I'm going to go see a jazz singer. Oh, he dances. Oh, I love dancers. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've come to a time in my life where I need to hone in on what I want to present as Clint Holmes on stage and carry that into records and carry that onto television and carry that into an image.
Okay, what is it that you want to present on stage?
I think the thing that I do best, and when I walked back into the dressing room after the show, the people who were in here who had just seen the show, the first thing they said was, sometimes when we touch was wonderful. That's what I do best. Okay. Those moments, the ballads that touch. When I'm touched, when I feel touched when I'm singing something, then I've got to feel that I must have touched someone else out there. And that's what I do. That when I go to see a show, I am not a big fan of shows that have a lot of flash and glitz and glamour, unless I get a chance also to see within that flash and glitz and glamour the real person who's doing what they do. And I think that what I have to do is present to the people, and I think I do this, but I think I might confuse them also. I have to present to them what I'm about, and what I'm about is feeling my music more than anything else. And the music that I feel the most are the emotional ballads mainly. And not to say that I got to go out and do an hour of emotional ballads, but that should be the focal point of what I do. That should be those moments should all be set up around those ballads. I think that's where it's going to come to. And that's going to take some time. It's going to take some honing in. It's going to take some weeding out, some experimenting to find it.
Okay, there's a combination of those moments which are very special, but there are also some very exciting moments when you're on stage with the Cobra Girls.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I should become one-dimensional. I'm saying that I should be more locked in so that people can walk out and have a very definite idea of what I do. I think that those moments with, say, with the Cobra Girls, or even with, now, normally I don't, when I do my normal nightclub act, I don't have the Cobra Girls. That's one of the blessings of doing this, is I get to work with them. But I still do Rio, for instance, which is mainly a, hot Latin fiery number. Not to say that I shouldn't do that, but that should be the, oh my goodness, he does that too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not in equal measures, in other words. Things should not be one jazz number, one big ballad, one Latin number, one comedy number. It should be more, here's what he does, and these are thrown in to alleviate, to heighten, to change the pace so people can go like this, so that people can stop thinking for a minute, all those things that you give people in a show.
You have a terrific rapport with the audience, especially when you're out there in the audience, mixing with the people, out there with the Cobra Girls. Is that something that you work at?
It's something that I find when you first start performing, when I first started performing and finding out that what works for me, I realized that one of the things that works for me is that people believe me. I'm not phony on stage. What I say is not scripted. What I say is sometimes not thought out, and sometimes it comes off that way. But it is at least real. It is me. It is Clint Holmes on Wednesday night, March the whatever it is. It is not necessarily Clint Holmes on Thursday night or Tuesday night. It is me. And yes, I want to talk to them, and yes, I want them to know me. Yeah.
Okay. And I want to get to know more about you, but we're going to take a break right now.
Okay.
And then I want to explore some of the things that really got you here to the Sands.
Okay.
We're speaking with Clint Holmes, and we're here, as I mentioned, at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City, and we'll be right back after these messages. We're back with my very special guest, Clint Holmes. We're here at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City. I want to get to know a little bit more about Clint Holmes. Not Clint Holmes on the stage, but Clint Holmes off the stage. How was it that you first became interested in performing, in being in show business?
There was never a time that I remember not being a performer, and I mean that. I remember in, I don't really know if it was kindergarten or first grade, but I was singing Peter Cottontail in front of everybody. I would always be the one who got up and sang. I took tap dance lessons and was always the one who led them around the stage. By the time I was in high school, I had a band, and sang at the dances and the proms. And from there, I went to college for a year as a voice major. Studied the classics and all that stuff, and realized it wasn't for me, and I dropped out of school and I went in the Army. And when I was in the Army, I sang at the White House in the Army Chorus for my Army tour of duty. So through that, I sang at Carnegie Hall with the Army Chorus and traveled around. And then I got out of the Army and started performing in clubs. So it really was simply I was always a singer.
Okay, never thought of anything else.
Oh, sure. I thought of more. There was a long period of my life that I wanted to be a baseball player, because I played semi-pro ball, and I played a lot of baseball. That was my other love. Athletics basically is my other passion besides my family, but I never had any support in that. The support came in music.
Yeah, much better place to support you. Okay, you mentioned your mother was an opera singer.
Yeah.
Okay, your father was a jazz singer, but
Yeah.
they met, and you were born
in England, right, in Bournemouth.
That's where they met. What were the circumstances?
The real circumstances were my dad was over there, stationed there, and my mom was singing at a USO show. And they met. And they romanced, and they got married.
Oh, what bride?
Yeah, right,
All right.
exactly.
And you came back to the States, how old were you?
Oh, I was a baby, 18 months or something like that.
So the States is really...
Oh yeah. In fact, I've never been back to Europe, and we're hoping that this year will be the year that we go back. In August, we're planning a trip to England, because I still have relatives that remember me, but I don't remember,
Okay, with your family. Now, you mentioned your family.
Well, I would just my wife. We'll leave the kids at home with grandparents, scatter them through the country.
All right, because the kids are two
Yeah, well, we have 17-month-old twins, and my big boy Brant, who's 4.5.
Okay, the twins, boys or girls?
Boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done.
And you're done.
We're done.
Oh, well, that's all right. All right, they're here with you in Atlantic City. Your wife is here with you in Atlantic City also. I understand that she is also in show business.
Brenda, not anymore. Brenda is an extremely talented woman. She has a master's degree in theater. When I met her, I was very impressed that she was in Who's Who in American colleges and universities. She has 6 Emmy Awards for television shows that she's either hosted, written, or produced, mostly on public broadcasting. When we lived in Washington, D.C., when I got out of the Army, we stayed in Washington, and I started my career from there. 5 years ago, we moved to L.A. When we moved to L.A., Brenda was about to start sending out resumes and all that. And she got pregnant with Brent, and she just said, well, look, we've been trying to have kids for a long time, and let me get into this. And so she has not really, in the past 5 or 6 years, been actively involved in any way in the business.
Okay, but certainly actively involved with Brent.
Oh boy, she did actively.
And twins at
Right.
18 months, that's pretty involved. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But we enjoy them very much. We're very blessed. They're healthy, and they're gorgeous, and they're bright. And, we enjoy them very much. We really do.
I did meet your son Brent, and I can attest to the fact that he is gorgeous. Does he always travel with you? Does your family travel with you?
Brent traveled with me, with us everywhere we went. It was really amazing. At 9 days old, he was on a plane from Los Angeles to Reno because I was opening with Burt Bacharach, and Brenda wanted to come see me work with Burt. And so at 9 days old, he was traveling, and until he was 3.5, he traveled everywhere I went, literally. Then when the twins came, it became a lot more difficult. The past year and a half, it's been a lot tougher. They travel a lot less. Because I'm here for an extended period of time, they're all here. We've set up and we're here.
Okay, you mentioned opening for Burt Bacharach, and I know that you've been the opening act for other major stars, but I assume that what you want to do is to be the headliner and have other people open for you.
Well, that's the goal. That's the goal, to be able to fill seats, be a headliner. Absolutely. I mean, I work with some great people, Joan Rivers, Bill Cosby, Don Rickles, people like that. It's fun, but that's not, that's where I'm at now. A year from now, I hope that I'll be at least co-headlining with people like that,
Okay, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to come back and talk some more.
Okay.
We're speaking with Clint Holmes. We're here at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City, and we'll be right back after these messages. We're back with my guest, Clint Holmes. We're here at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City. We were talking during the commercial break, and we had talked earlier about the fact that your parents met during the war when your father was in the Army.
Right.
I hear that you met your wife Brenda when you were also in the Army.
That's true. Actually, I'd never thought of that, but that's true. Yeah, if Brenda were here, she would say, "Do you want the 2-hour or the 5-hour story?" I'll give you the 20-second story. She was just back from studying in England, studying theater in England, and was working on a show at Hampton Institute in Virginia. I was stationed at the time in Virginia also. And I went over to the campus just to get away from the Army base and met her, and we had common interests, and the romance started. And about a year after she got out of school, she was in graduate school at Catholic University in Washington. I was now singing in Washington in the Army chorus, and we continued our romance and got married there.
Okay, so the Army's had an important part in your life.
Yeah, it really has.
That's interesting.
It really has.
Okay, but the business that you've chosen for yourself, show business, is a very competitive business. There's so many people out of work. What was it like for you when you were starting out? You make it seem like it was so easy. Was it easy for you to find jobs?
No, still isn't. No. Nightclubs are not flourishing. They are here in Atlantic City, and they are in a few other places, but by and large, they aren't flourishing. And I'm at a place, as a lot of entertainers are, in a middle ground. I'm respected in my industry by my peers. I'm beginning to be known more and more by my peers, and I'm beginning to find my audiences. But there are an awful lot of people who don't know who I am. And the bottom line, of course, is people will come to see a name they know. So again, no, it's not easy at all. We struggle. We all do. I mean, we being the entertainers, we struggle on different levels. I mean, I couldn't tell. There are a lot of people working in lounges who come to see me, and I couldn't sit there and tell them I'm struggling, because they would say, I'm struggling, but then I could go to a Kenny Rogers and say I'm struggling, and he would say, yeah, I guess you are, But I'm saying they're all different levels. I feel blessed. I'm doing what I love to do, and my career is on a steady upward plane, and that's all I really can ask.
Okay, were there tough times when you thought maybe this wasn't such a terrific idea, maybe show business wasn't that good?
Oh, sure. There's a lot of times I'd like to grow a beard, be a bartender, move to Northern California and forget it, and live up in the mountains, because the most important thing in my life is my family and my relationship with Brenda, and that has nothing to do with this business. You know, the only reason it does is because it's my business. If I was a ball player, I would still have the same relationship, I would hope. So that's the main blessing I have, is that my family is first. So yeah, if I ever decided to give it up, but I won't. You know, I know that I won't, because I write, and there are other areas of what I do that I could do to sustain myself. I can't imagine really stopping what I do.
Okay, that's it. You write songs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you written material that you've used on stage?
Oh yeah, in fact, we're starting to infiltrate some of my songs into this show now. Yeah, more and more that'll happen.
Okay, and also I hear that you've been working on the possibility of a television show.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I did a pilot called What's Hot, What's Not for Lorimar as a host, which may happen. There's some talk about us doing a show from here. There's a lot of things going on. It's a very exciting time for me right now. Records, new management, this show here at the Sands, growing as an artist. There's a lot of really, really terrific things going on. I feel very positive right now.
If you could predict the future, what would you predict for Clint Holmes?
I would predict that something will happen soon that will give me my audience, that will help, in a sense, my audience find me. And what I would hope, after that prediction comes true, is that I will allow that to be enough, and I will not torment myself with the fact that there's always someone making more money, there was always someone with a bigger name, and you can get crazy trying to reach that goal. My goal is to have an audience that knows who I am, so that I can do what I do best, which is perform and write and sing for the rest of my life, you know, that I want to do it.
I predict that a lot more people are going to get to know about Clint Holmes. I know that I'm certainly glad that I got to know about Clint Holmes, and I thank you very much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you.